One other thing about God's vision for sexuality is this idea of constant reuniting. In other words, we do it over and over and over. From 1 Corinthians chapter 7, the husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. Now, what is that word marital duty meaning? Yes, having sex. The wife's body does not belong to her alone, but also to her husband. In the same way, the husband's body does not belong to him alone, but also to his wife. It says, do not deprive each other except by mutual consent, and for a time so that you may devote yourself to prayer. Then come together again so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Do you understand what it's saying? He's saying over and over and over again. You know, we repeat this. Husband and wife repeat being sexual with each other. It's kind of like this little group of rubber bands here. Let's say we have met Mrs. Wonderful or Mr. Right, and we want to spend the rest of our life with them. We want to marry this person. We want to grow old and have grandkids together. Okay, so we get married. Now, on the honeymoon, what happens on a honeymoon? You're smiling and we're still whispering. Yes, on a honeymoon, we have sex. Okay, there we go. Now, we're going to let a rubber band, in this illustration, a rubber band is going to represent having sex together between husband and wife. Okay, that happens. And because it's our honeymoon, we wake up the next morning and, well, yeah, I mean, we just got married. So, of course, we, again that morning, there we go. And, okay, we come back that night after dinner, and before we fall asleep that night, it's a honeymoon. I mean, that's what people do on their honeymoons, right? Now we've been married for a week, and okay, we kind of let a few days go by, and then we come back together again because it's still exciting and fun. I mean, we just got married. Now, if we had a lot of adults in the audience, they would know exactly what I mean by this. Now it's been a month. We're not doing this as much as we used to. It's still fun, and we still like each other a lot, but, we've kind of gone back to work, and we're back in kind of our normal routine of, things that we do. So, every once in a while, a few times a week, we're still together and doing this, and, things are going well, and okay, now we've been married for a year or two. Maybe there's a little baby in the house, and this doesn't happen quite as much as it used to now because we got a baby and we're both tired, but, we're still doing this. Now, every time this happens, what's happening to my fingers? Yes, they are. They're getting purple because the blood is getting cut off here. Okay? But in that process, what's causing the blood to get cut off is also causing them to be drawn together. Tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. Every time, by God's design, this constant reuniting, every time we're sexual with our spouse, that fulfillment, by God's plan, fulfillment is happening, and this reuniting is drawing us together. I mentioned the neurochemicals. One of those has a very strong bonding effect, oxytocin. Every time we're sexual with our spouse, and we'll talk more about this in the presentation that deals with brain neurochemistry, but every time we're sexual with our spouse, something's happening up here that draws us tighter and tighter together. Now, by God's design, how easy is it for us to now split apart? How easy is that to happen? It's not at all. It's very difficult to separate the two of us now because by God's design, our sexual part of our relationship keeps us close together with each other. That's God's plan. Constant reuniting, and it draws us together closer and closer and closer as husband and wife. Now, let's take just a second and talk about kind of the world we live in. Because here's what I observe with many of the teenagers that I work with. We're not married, but there's some kind of sexual behavior going on between the two of us. And we may have only been in a relationship for a few weeks, but we've done something sexual. So that has that effect. It kind of, causes us to obsess with each other. It kind of draws us together. And we do that a few times. We do that several times. And in that process, we're also kind of finding out more about each other. And after a month or two, we may realize, this person really isn't the best person for me. Maybe this relationship isn't going very well. Maybe other people, our friends, our parents, can see, you guys are not good for each other. So we may come to a decision, I think we need to break up. And so we try to do that. And maybe we can. Maybe we can break up. But for some reason, we seem to be drawn back together. And we know this isn't working well, so we break up again. And we keep on coming back to each other. My bet is, people like this. They've broken up like 5 or 6 times. And they're always coming back to their ex. They may have 2 or 3 others in between, but they always come back to their ex. It's like they broke up, they're on and off and on and off and on and off. Well, guys, do you see this right here? The way God's vision is, if we're sexually involved on any level, anything sexual that's going on, it can really make it hard to make the decision to, hey, we need to not be together anymore. By God's plan, if we wait until we're married and then we're sexual with our spouse, God's plan is this thing works really well because it draws us together and it can help us stay together even though a lot of things in life may be trying to pull us apart.